One player won $250,000 and disappeared. One's identity is a mystery to this day, and one became a massive streamer to fall off and be berated by Ninja.
Also Ronaldo is like completely irrelevant.
Just to rise again to the top of Twitch. There are FNCS champions, literal millionaires, and so many more. Today we talk about Fortnite's craziest one tournament wonders. Morgausse. Austin Morgausse 2 was unknown before the final week of the summer skirmish at PAX West, so when he made the trip out to Seattle, he did not have high expectations. But to his surprise, he made the finals in the first qualifier, guaranteeing himself $5,000, and if he won any game in the finals, he could win an additional $25,000. These next 7 games would change his life. After a solid first 2 games, he was just outside the top 10, but in game 3, he would hit a new level, playing an incredible game from the start.
As Flower from Rogue goes down, Morgausse pushing down, trying to get the double. He sees this player rotating around the outside. He had just been dealing 8
to finish.
The most, Morgausse with another med kit. Sam dropping on down, trying to spray. Morgausse in the 1v1. Will he get the perfect game? He does!
Winning the heal off, earning $25,000 from the Victory Royale and taking first place. From here, he did not look back, playing 3 more solid games to win the tournament and $250,000 in his first ever major event. A great start that he had hoped to build by following the trajectory of tier 1 players like Bizzle, Chap, and Tfue. But it just never quite happened, as he had some small successes placing 10th in a Duos World Cup qualifier, but he couldn't obtain the highs he achieved at PAX West, and he eventually quit the game in April 2020, trying his hand at some other competitive titles. If you like absolute bangers, please like, sub, and use code WeClutchUp. Next up is a 2-for-1. FNCS champions who never won in one of the most competitive eras of the game's history, then never came close again. When Justice and Users queued into FNCS in Chapter 2 Season 7 with their trio mate Dukes, they were basically zero expectations. Sure, Dukes had some hype from his time with Chap, but none of them had ever been in the top 15 of a grand final. They were also extremely underwhelming to start the season, placing 51st, 90th, and 60th in the 3 qualifiers. But when it came time for heats, they locked in and won it. This surprise placement plus their strong drop spot caddy corner gave them insane momentum going into grand final, which they carried into day 1. 6th in game 1, then a dominant game 2, continuing their amazing consistency across day 1, ending in 1st with almost a 50-point lead. On day 2, they would struggle, and as a result, their lead disappeared, setting up an epic game 12. Where they were only ahead by 5 points. Following this tournament, Duke would go on to become one of NA's best players, winning 2 more FNCSs. But for Justice and Users, this would be each of their peaks, as they would never appear in the top 10 of another grand final. Both are still competing in Fortnite to this day, but Justice has made only $200 since the merger to North America Central, and Users hasn't earned since Chapter 4 Season 1. Going into Chapter 2 Season 1, Drin was at best a tier 2 Swedish Fortnite pro. He had no major placements or a big tournament qualification to his name, his closest being a 26th in heats in Season X. So in Squad FNCS, when Drin teamed up with Red Rush, Wakey, and Snappy to form a rare Swedish squad, expectations were low. But as the qualifying weeks went on, they got better, culminating in a 3rd place in week 4, winning their heat and bursting onto everyone's radar. They started exceptionally slow, scoring 0 points in game 1. Keep in mind, there was just 6 games in this grand final, so for most teams, this would be catastrophic. But after this early setback, they locked in. After 2 well-played games that saw them jump into the top 5, they would have an insane pop-off game. holding their dominant lead in the final 2 games despite a furious push from Mongrel and Benji's team, taking the FNCS crown and $75,000. While the rest of this squad would go on to have long careers, Chapter 2 Season 1 FNCS would be Drobin's peak, as he would come 40th in solo invitational finals and then never make a grand finals again. He stopped playing around late Chapter 2, but he seems to be in the midst of a comeback as he has started competing again throughout Chapter 5, earning $100 in a solo victory cash cup. iDropz is definitely the most controversial player on this list and perhaps the most infamous player in Fortnite history.
I know I'm not going to get first. There's this PS4 guy who's playing mouse and keyboard who's apparently dropped 220 bombs already.
Bodies. Yeah, apparently he's getting disqualified or something. I'm not sure why. I don't know.
In the Summer Skirmish, the first major tournament series, iDropz was an unknown player, and unlike all the Tier 1 pros, at the time he played on console, only getting an invite because he placed 3rd in the Open Qualifier tournaments, the Solo Showdown 2 months earlier. He had no expectations going into Summer Skirmish. How could he? No one knew who he was. Week 2 of the Summer Skirmish was a kill race that spanned 10 games. Maybe this random could place top 20, but he started out on fire, dropping a 20 bomb and receiving a $10,000 bonus. As the day continued, he dropped another 24 kill win and many other high kill games. After all was said and done, iDropz won the Summer Skirmish and $130,000. This win was beyond his wildest imagination, but came with insane controversy. For one, he was the only player who didn't stream this event because he was playing on a console, so got an exception because he could not put on the required 2-minute delay. So, as you may have guessed, an insane out-of-nowhere performance that no one witnessed firsthand would produce a lot of cheating allegations, with one Reddit post gaining over 40,000 upvotes, making the case that he was cheating. Fortnite did their own investigation, and they concluded he was legit. He would only compete in one more week of this fall skirmish, earning $2,500, but he never would come close to the display of dominance in the Summer Skirmish. There isn't much information as to what he's up to now other than playing video games and hitting the gym, but iDropz's impact on Fortnite will never be forgotten. How did a team that failed to qualify almost win the Global Championship? Cheating and Pixie both failed to qualify for the Global Championships through FNCS, but they had one final chance in the Last Chance Major where they needed to come top 9. After a slow start and a furious comeback in games 5 and 6, they found themselves in 10th place, just one place shy of making global. But fate had other plans because Nafrizi and Hallie, who came second, were disqualified. They were next up and got a coveted spot in global championships. As a totally unknown last second qualifier, no one gave them a real shot. But in the finals, they won games 2 and 3, pulling off one of the game's greatest Cinderella stories.
Zone is taking him out until the final shot is in. There it goes. Points. A 2v1 situation. They got their 7 eliminations, and it's Carmi who's already outside of the zone, and he doesn't even survive a chance to fight the 1v2.
But fell to 4th, earning $150,000 and unable to complete the perfect Cinderella story. Pixie has a very underrated career with top 10s in FNCS since, but cheating has not managed any other FNCS placements inside of the top 20, and hasn't earned more than $5,500 from any other event. But since he's still in the top 100 in PR on EU, we can't count him out just yet. The Chapter 2 Season 2 Solo FNCS Invitational was the largest solo tournament since the World Cup and the first 12-game tournament in FNCS history. But there was one problem. In early Chapter 2, controller aim assist was not just dominant,
that is a controller player!
It was broken. And although some people loved it, most hated it.
That guy is a pro bowler playing with aim assist for children.
Furious had crafted himself into a dominant controller player and was ready to make waves in the Invitational. But day 1 started slowly, ending it off in 16th with just 72 points. But on day 2, he came alive, placing second twice, winning his first and only FNCS championship and $100,000. Furious would go on to have a mediocre career, having some average FNCS placements and a few solid cash cups, but nothing even close to the solo invitation. Furious would quit competing at the end of Chapter 2 and now seems to be enjoying life playing Valorant, where he's reached Radiant. Going into Chapter 2 Season 3, Coupe was a skilled pro controller player who made squad and solo invitational grand finals, finishing with respectable placements of 10th and 39th place. He was becoming well known as Arab's duo and actually had some decent placements. But his career would change in Chapter 2 Season 3. He placed 10th in his heat and qualified for the Grand Final. Going into Grand Finals with low expectations, but as the game started, he got settled in. As each game went on, Coupe never had a pop-off, but he also never had a bad game. This incredible consistency resulted in Coupe taking home his first FNCS title and $50,000. After this, Coupe immediately won the solo DreamHack, making him somewhat of a two-tournament wonder. After this 1 week where he dominated, he would only make one more Grand Finals and place 19th. He still occasionally plays competitively, competing in a few events in 2024, but his passion has clearly waned as he looks to move on to the next chapter in his life. Today, Ronaldo is one of the biggest streamers in the world, but fewer people know he got his start as an FNCS champion. Before his huge success as a content creator, Ronaldo was one of Fortnite's best tarpers and could hold his own against the best players in North America. He had a solid World Cup placements and made Season X heats, but then teamed up with Unknown Army, Kez, and Avery for Squad FNCS. At that time, Unknown was the best player on the region, so anything could happen.
Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
After their 6 games, it was so close between first and second that they had to wait for the leaderboards to update. It was official. Ronaldo was an FNCS champion. He was, for this moment, on top of the Fortnite world, but his competitive career wouldn't see much success beyond this, having only made 2 more Grand Finals. Ronaldo likely could have kept competing at the highest levels, but when his stream blew up, he decided to put his focus into content creation. Saying this paid off would be an understatement, as Ronaldo became one of Fortnite's largest content creators across both Twitch and YouTube, averaging over 10,000 viewers and putting millions of views on his YouTube. His streaming career has seen its own peaks and valleys after he took a long break from content creation and was even berated by Ninja. But Ronaldo has come back again and has become one of the largest content creators, joining FaZe and putting up insane streaming numbers. As Ron keeps hitting higher heights, his FNCS championship will become a more distant memory. Nyrhox is by far the biggest one tournament wonder, which he probably does not mind. He became a millionaire in 1 day, then never experiencing a success even close again. Going into the World Cup, Aqua and Nyrhox had very few expectations, and were in the bottom 10 after their first 3 games where they only had 6 points, and it looked like the Duo World Cup was going to be a failure. But Nyrhox's teammate was one of the smartest and most aggressive players in the game's history, so anything was possible. They won back-to-back games.
And he's wrestling with everyone, but Nyrhox is out. Oh no, he does manage to get the elimination, and in the storm, he gets the victory royale.
Back-to-back victory royale, Jack.
Pressure coming on in, they drop down low, the tag's coming. Oh my gosh.
Going into Game 6, they had a golden opportunity, which they capitalized on, winning the largest duos event ever, setting themselves up for life when they won $1.5 million each. But to everyone's surprise, they split as a duo immediately after the World Cup. Aqua would go on to become one of the most decorated esports players of all time, but for Nyrhox, this was basically the end. Only making 2 more Grand Finals, placing 15th in squads and 34th in duos. His 1.5 million earned in just 6 games of Fortnite is one of the craziest peaks, not just in gaming, but in life. The author Cervantes once said, "The road is better than the inn." And isn't that the truth? All achievement, even fleeting, takes challenges. Watch more of our videos and sub!